Hey, everybody, welcome back to Strong Witness. We do this every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern, or wherever you're at. So I am excited to be out. This one back again tonight. I'm excited about it. Again, I was going to show you some videos. I had some photos that I wanted to show everybody, but I still don't know how to work that part, but I'm going to get it together. But this one is another awesome. Every week I think is a pretty awesome segment and pretty awesome time to share some stories and connect. But this time right here is even more special for me because I'm sharing with an old friend from high school. So we go back to I guess I'm dating myself and I'm gonna pull him up here. We go back to 1990 homeroom. And we were in the same homeroom for 4 years back in high school, but this one's pretty special. So it's definitely a story of redemption. It's definitely a story of sobriety. Is definitely a story of trials. And I was sharing with somebody today a couple times. I did a post earlier where it talked about healing from shame is possible, and why I started Strong Witness. Just for those that don't know, who are logging on for the first time, I got my shirt there, my Strong Witness shirt. If you're logging on for the first time, then you understand. You may not understand what Strong Witness is about. Okay, Strong Witness is a storytelling community and platform where we share our stories and our journeys of healing with other people, with the purpose of not only ourselves getting free, but helping somebody else to get free as well. So I'm just excited that I got a special guest on tonight. So I definitely want you to share with other people. I definitely want you to connect with somebody else who you know that may be dealing with. Matter of fact, I said this before, we all know somebody in life who is or has dealt with addiction in some type of way. Like I talked about it before, I have addiction in my family. And so I think it's an important topic to chat about. So I'm going to bring him up. He's going to be on there. He's going to talk for a little bit. And he said himself, he may get off topic. So if you see me jump back in and or cut him off or be like, hold on now, it's because I'm bringing him back in. So I'm going to bring Michael up. He goes by Michael Patrick Smith. So Michael, what's up? Welcome.
Hello.
Yeah.
Or as I actually called you in high school, T. We called you T.
I think you called me T. I think the other day you did. I don't recall anybody else saying that to me, but that's fine.
Yeah, I like it, but I'm not sure if you do. You prefer Latoya?
It's either way. You can call me Toya. You can call me Latoya. However, you can call me T. People call me T now.
Yeah, and interesting enough, so we knew each other for 4 years in high school. I want to say you sat to my right. And
I thought I sat behind you.
Okay.
Or Henry sat in front of me, and maybe you did sit.
Yeah.
Either way, I was behind.
You're making me think now. I like that.
Yeah. C200, if you will. We're in Cocos Valley Regional High School.
Ironically enough, our homeroom teacher just retired or announced his retirement.
I saw that. I think I saw it because you shared it. Yeah. So C200 is where we met. We're in Cocos Valley Regional High School in Mount Holly, New Jersey. 4 years every morning. I may or may not have showed up on time. More likely than not, I was not on time. And Mr. Bednarik was writing me some stuff, and I had to get in there. So,
I never remember you being late, but what I do recall is your laugh, because we both were very quiet. I was actually voted most quiet, which we can address. And you said I was quieter than you, and that says a lot. Yeah. But what I remember most is you being really quiet, and all of a sudden I'd hear this laugh, this wonderful laugh that made other people laugh.
Did it? Okay, that's a good thing.
I'd say you have an infectious laugh, Latoya.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. I like to laugh. I laugh a lot. I laugh when I don't know. I laugh when I know, and I laugh when I make mistakes. Yeah. I've learned to laugh over the years at myself.
And that's an important thing for me in life, is to laugh, to be happy. That's all I want, is to be happy, for my friends, my family, loved ones to be happy. And laughter helps facilitate that in many ways. I'm a writer. I like to write. I write a lot on Facebook. I'll be writing a few books in the future.
That's awesome.
definitely one directly pertaining to my struggles with drugs and or alcohol.
Mhm.
And so
Let's
there you go.
and let's start there before your book hits the press. You can give us a little bit of your story now. And I wanted to say that, make sure I say that part too. I got to put that I'm going to put it on the banner. But tonight,
You're getting it first. He said you guys are getting it first here live.
Yeah, before it even gets to the press. So it's not even hot off the press yet. But tonight's story session is about a story of addiction and redemption. And so I'm going to give space for Michael just to share his story, even whether it be from Michael, wherever you want to start it at, whether it be from high school years. But I want you to tell the people who you are and take us to what led up to using or addiction. So just kind of, because I know you're going to help a lot of people who have issues with addiction,
Sure.
right? And I really want you. I'm just going to let you flow. So I'm going to move out the way, and I'm going to let you flow.
Okay, so my name is Michael Patrick Smith. I have a very interesting name. One thing I don't believe in life is giving people a misunderstood word. I believe many of the problems in the world can be traced down to something as simple as a misunderstood word or something we wrongly understand. So my name, Michael, has a lot of meaning. In Hebrew, it translates to a question, who is like God, or a gift from God? And it also refers to Saint Michael the Archangel, notably in the book of Daniel. So I'm 44 years old. I was born in Danbury, Connecticut. I come from a family of five. My mother, Patricia, my father, William, who passed 9 years ago from cancer. My sister, Michelle, who is a fashion designer in New York City. My brother, Matthew, works in insurance in Tampa. And me, the middle child. So with that, it's funny, I always find myself in the middle of things in life, and how appropriate I was the middle child, sometimes referred to as the black sheep. But I came from a wonderful family, very loving, very caring, very supportive, middle class. We moved around a lot growing up. I've lived everywhere pretty much. But to kind of fast forward things, I was born September 18th, 1976, year of the dragon. And to kind of fast forward things, probably, growing up, I remember every once in a while, like taking a sip of my parents' drink every once in a while, maybe 10, 12, the drink would be sitting there, and it was just kind of a funny, cute thing. Mike takes a sip and he likes it, and then we'll fast forward to high school. I didn't really drink or anything like that. You enter my sophomore year of high school. Before that, middle school, I was very outgoing. I was like the class clown. I was, voted best dressed, most likely to succeed. And then I go into high school, and for whatever reasons, many different reasons, I kind of clammed up, and I kind of went into a shell. And funny enough, I was voted most quiet in high school, and I am the complete opposite of that these days. So I think I've taken what I felt like was a weakness, and I've made it a strength, and that's communication. I believe communication is a universal solvent. So I was born and raised Catholic. I was baptized. I was actually never confirmed. We moved around so much, it never happened and got put off, and never happened to this day. So we're in high school, and my sophomore year, sophomore year of high school, I remember the first time I got drunk, a bunch of us friends went to a golf course. I lived in West Hampton, and a neighborhood called Saddle Ridge. And one night, me and a bunch of friends, we the rap culture was very popular with us in high school, and we kind of idolized it. And we got a bunch of 40 ounces St. Ides. We went to the high school, well, went to the golf course, and I drank like a whole bottle or something like that. And I got so drunk. My first time getting drunk, I got so drunk I passed out. And my friend David Robertson actually carried me home in a wheelbarrow, I believe. And I'd kind of drink here and there in high school, but it was nothing over the top after that, really. I smoked weed one time in high school. Never really liked it. Definitely didn't like it. I'm more of a guy that liked uppers, stimulants. So I was very shy, and kind of fast forward through high school, I got voted most quiet, and it was actually very devastating for me. And I carried that resentment for years. But I found a way to turn it around, and I found purpose in that. So I ended up getting pretty good grades, and I ended up going to Auburn University, which was, I think it's, what is it, like 1,500 miles or something like that, from Auburn. And a lot of people would ask me, why are you going to Auburn University? I looked at some schools in the Northeast, and my father was from the South. He was born in Mississippi, deep South. He was actually born in the town Philadelphia, Mississippi, where the movie Philadelphia, Mississippi Burning took place. So he got me to look at some Southern schools, and I found Auburn. I went there for orientation with one of my best friends, David Metcalf, and I just instantly fell in love with it. It was a totally different culture than I was used to, and it was far away from home, and I thought it'd be good for me to kind of expand and put myself out there and get away from home and just kind of grow up a bit and get out of my shell. And so I was in college, and I was in business. I changed my major a few times, from accounting to finance to marketing, and finally logistics, transportation. I got my degree in that. I joined a fraternity in college, Kappa Sigma, and I really started breaking out of my shell my freshman year. I had like one girlfriend in middle school, and one in high school primarily, and we broke up. I broke up with her before I went to school. I thought it'd be for the best. And I started kind of dating more in college. I got involved with my fraternity. I got out of my shell. I participated a lot. I communicated a lot. I was like an executive officer 3 times, vice president twice, and I actually took over. One of our president resigned, and I took over and was president for a little bit and helped us through a tough time. My drinking, that is really where my drinking problems started. We drank a lot in fraternity. There was an excuse to drink every day of the week, even Tuesdays. But we partied during the week, and we studied during the day. And my first few years, I didn't really do all that great. And then finally I pulled everything together my last 2 years and almost got straight A's. But with the drinking increased. We had parties all the time. We had band parties on the weekends after Auburn football games. And alcohol was always around. It was that social lubricant that was always there. And my drinking increased, and I noticed that I started to let go of things that I really cared about in my life, things that made me feel good, like working out. Like my last 2 years of high school, I worked out all the time, and I was pretty cut. I was in good shape, and I felt really good. And in college, it eventually got to the point where I stopped working out. I participated in all the fraternity and intramural sports, but I wasn't really working out. But fast forward to my junior year and I went home to visit my parents. They my father got transferred around a lot with his job, and we ended up out in Kansas City, Missouri, in 1995. And in 97, 98, my junior year of college, I went home, and I was Mr. Outgoing, and I'd go home during the breaks, and I'd work like a seasonal job during the Christmas vacation, or spring, all that kind of stuff. And then when I was home for the summer, but so I'm home for a break, and I'm kind of seeing this girl a little bit, and literally there's like this club that was close to our house, maybe a mile and a half, 2 miles away. And I went there one night, and I drank. I'm not getting into, it's not how much you use or this or that, but yeah, I drank like 8 Long Island iced teas that night. My brother ended up showing up at it was bizarre. He showed up out of nowhere, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I was so drunk, I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And I was seeing this girl, and we agreed to go, stay the night at her place that night. And so I was going to follow her in my parents' car. It was like a brand new Mazda Millennia, and I was following her home, and I was blasting music, and I don't really remember anything. I crashed into a median, and I probably should be dead. The car was totaled. And that's one of the things I remember the officer saying. He's like, you're really lucky to be alive." So I was so remorseful, and I told my father I'd never drink again. He's like, let's be real, let's be honest. You're going to drink again, this and that. And he was right. He convinced me to go back to school. I felt so bad about it. I was like, I'll stay home. I'll work for you. I'll pay you back for the car, this or that. My father told me to go back to school, and I did. And almost immediately after I go back to school, I had a fraternity brother that looked a little bit like me, and he was getting a new driver's license, and I was always kind of the youngest guy. So I didn't turn 18 until my my first month in college. So I wasn't able to go out to bars and buy alcohol and this and that, and go to clubs. But after he gave me this, I convinced him to give me this, his driver's license. And so illegally I was able to purchase alcohol and get into clubs, and it was close enough where everybody bought it. And one night, it's almost like I had to impress people. And we had so many people that were 21 that could have bought beer, but we went out to the ABC liquor store at Auburn, over by Mama G's. Any Auburn fans are watching. And I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be cool. And so I went in to buy alcohol for everybody when I didn't even need to. There's plenty of people in the car that were 21. I go in there, I come out, and there's like a member of the ABC board. Basically, it's like this regulatory agency through the police department or whatever. And they asked to see my ID. I took off running, and I turned myself in later, and I got charged with a minor in possession of alcohol. Oh, and going back to the first DUI, that got taken off my record. Because I was underage. I was like 19 at the time. So back in the day, the computer systems weren't quite linked up at the time with nationally. So Alabama had no idea that I'd just gotten a DUI, and I didn't tell them. So basically, I had to do some community service, blah, 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 and I ended up getting the minor in possession of alcohol taken off my record as well. I keep on drinking a lot in college. I finally settled down, and the drinking got as bad to where I'd black out. I wouldn't act like myself. It's funny. I was just speaking to a woman that I'm good friends with on Facebook that I dated for a while at Auburn, and I remember the first time I met her. It was one of the most embarrassing episodes of my life. I was so drunk. She was with her brother, and I liked her, and like I basically verbally assaulted her brother, thinking it was like some guy she's with, or this or that. And I apologized, and I felt so bad about that. and there were so many times I black out or I didn't know what happened. So I have like these blank spaces from college and much further into my life as we go on. And so I pull everything together, and my last 2 years of college, I do really well, and I get straight A's, and I get recruited all over the Southeast. But I'm a city boy at heart, and my sister was just kind of starting off in the fashion design world, and I went to visit her during Thanksgiving break when I was in college, and I instantly fell in love with New York City. And so I went. After I graduated, I went home, worked for my dad for a month or two, and saved some money. I graduated college in December of 1999. I was a freshman in August of 1994. So I was actually in college. I was in the 5-year plan, which is funny because my God-given lucky number is 5, and it actually means change. And that's something we'll probably get into a little bit later. So I'm at home. I'm a much different person. I'm an extrovert at this point. I'm a go-getter. I'm aggressive, and I just make things happen. And I was at home. I set up 2 weeks full of interviews for New York City. My sister was dating a man that would be her future husband at the time, and she was staying at his place, the Upper West Side, and she had a studio apartment in the Upper West Side. So I basically took over her old apartment. She wasn't using it. She was still paying rent, so I took over the rent. And it was actually rent stabilized, rent controlled. So I think I started paying like $750 a month for a studio apartment, Upper West Side of Manhattan, which is unreal. And I loved it. It was a great neighborhoody area. I loved the city, and there was just this energy about it. It was intoxicating in many ways. And so I'm in New York. I get a job for TNT International Express. Basically, at the time, they were like the FedEx of Europe and Asia. They actually got bought out by FedEx many years later. And I got a job with them instantly. I think the first week I was doing interviews, I nailed the job, and I was Rookie of the Year for the United States, #1 new salesperson. And I was a go-getter. I just went out there. I knocked on doors. I made phone calls. I was fearless. I like to say I was, in sales, I was rejected for a living, so rejection doesn't bother me. And with that, I was making really good money right out of college. I was making 75, 80 my first year, close to 6 figures every year I was there. And with that, there was like this power, I can go do whatever I wanted to. I can go out to nice restaurants. I can take girls on nice dates. I went out a lot on the weekends. I'd go out to bars and clubs. And I actually started smoking at that point. Never really smoked before. Smoked once or twice in college. Cigarettes we're talking about here. And I didn't know anybody, and besides my sister, pretty much. And we didn't have Facebook, so I wasn't connected to my friends from high school or anything like that. So I'd go out to bars or restaurants, and I'd just go and meet people. And I'd sit at the bar sometimes, and it made me feel comfortable. I'd smoke a cigarette to get by. And and going further on, there's still, although I'm, drug and alcohol free at this point, there's still some drugs I'm on, caffeine and nicotine, and some of those I'm looking to eliminate, maybe all of them, I don't know. But that's when I started smoking, and I still smoke. So I was going out a lot. There was a guy I worked with. He was a few years older than me. He was kind of the older, reckless brother I never had. He was my wingman. I noticed there were signs there that there was things in his life going on. Like he'd show up to work late. He was unshaven. He'd call out sick a lot. And I knew he liked to go out and have a good time. And we grew closer. We'd go out to eat. We'd go to Yankees games he was a Red Sox fan. We would go out to Yankees, Red Sox, games and stuff like that. And we grew closer. And one night I go to his apartment in the Lower East Side, and we're hanging out there. We're kind of pre-partying before we go out, you know, drinking, stuff like that, smoking a few cigarettes, and he busts out a plate of cocaine. And I've always been a very curious person. And so going back to that, I think that's where I started to first make mistakes in my life, was the people I associated with. So I take full responsibility for all my problems in my life. I don't blame things like diseases or this or that. I think everyone has problems in life, you know, and I call my drug addiction, my past drug addiction and alcohol addiction, I call it a me problem. And it stems from me not being comfortable with myself, and not wanting to confront things in life. Um, so if I'm uncomfortable, that's not a good thing for me, and I need to explore that. I need to face it. Um, but that's the thing. At this time, I was on top of the world, and so the first mistake I made was associating with what you can say is the wrong crowd. The next mistake was I chose to pick up cocaine for the first time, and you know, he paid for it that time, and I liked it. You know, I was feeling here in life, but cocaine made me feel here. It was like this false sense of feeling even better. But after you're off of it, you know, it's like you crash back down, and it takes a few days to recover from. You know, it takes a while to recover from that. So I took more and more and more. And at first he was buying. The next thing you know, I was pitching in. I was buying with him. The next thing you know, we were buying our own little stashes. Next thing you know, I was going through my own drug dealers. And you know, in New York, you know, drug dealers would come right to your place. You know, delivery, good customer service. um, Everything's accessible in New York, like that, like that. And so as good as I was feeling at that time in my life, it wasn't good enough. And just to kind of go with my faith and God and stuff like that up until this point, um, starting from the point when I was a young kid, I you know, I was taught to pray and this and that, and I'd always pray before I go to bed. Um, and I've always, I'm a thinker. I think all the time, and I've always thought about these things, the meanings of life and God and this and that, and I've always, for many years, struggled with it. I'd always been searching for the answers, and you can say searching for God and my purpose in this world. And so going with that, I'd say at this time in my life, I wasn't really connected to anything. And so going forward a little bit, my cocaine use increases more and more. I was kind of what they call a weekend warrior, using on the weekends, and then it starts filtering into my work week, and I go to work unshaven. I go to work late. I'm calling out sick, and I'm a guy that never calls out sick. Um, my boss at the time started to notice things. My family started to notice things. I was making all this money. All of a sudden, I couldn't cover my rent, and I lied. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm not making the commissions like I used to." Oh my God, this is weird. And my phone is dying for some reason. Um, so see if I can fix this real quick. Um, so it really starts affecting my work life, and I also become really promiscuous during this time, and I I just start sleeping with women, and I don't stay in any one relationship. And then in the back of my head, I've got this drug problem, so it's kind of like you want to push yourself away to protect that person. So I didn't stay in a relationship. Um, and I started pushing, you know, family away, friends. My friends never even knew I was using drugs. That's how good I was at hiding it. You know, I'd use by myself. I didn't really, you know, in the beginning I'd use with friends here and there, but then, you know, it was basically it ended up using by myself. And I'd also with women. I started getting prostitutes and stuff like that, and so it starts really affecting work, and I'm not able to cover my bills, and um, my parents don't know what's going on. They knew I like to shoot pool at bars and stuff like that. Maybe like I got involved with the pool shark or da 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 da. They don't know, and things just get worse and worse. And I just can't take it anymore. And one of my friends, Max, takes me to my first 12-step meeting. I believe it was NA or Cocaine Anonymous, I think. And I felt so lonely and isolated and by myself. And for the first time, I was like, oh my God, there's other people that understand what I'm going through. And it felt amazing to know that I wasn't alone. So that was the start of that. But I went to 1 or 2 meetings and that was it. You know, I tried to stop for a while. I couldn't stop. I just couldn't stop. So things just get really bad. And finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I talked to my boss, Tom, and I told him that I had a problem, and he felt relieved. He's like, okay. He's like, I've been through this before with another employee before, and next call was to my. He's like, we got this. You know, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna support you, and he was always there. He's still with me to this day. The next call was to my father. That was the toughest phone call I've ever made in my life. And I called my dad up and I said, Dad, I've got a drug problem. And I just broke down crying. It felt so good to let it out, the secret that I had. And I followed Family Medical Leave Act. I got 12 weeks of work off. I got through my insurance. I got 28, 30 days of treatment at the Cairn Foundation in Warnersburg, Pennsylvania. Aerosmith famously went there in the 80s. It was a nice rehab, and I really learned the 12 steps, and I started working the 12 steps there, and I started really applying that to my life for the first time. I went to church again there. I went to church off and on, you know, up until that point, here and there. With family or by myself sometimes or with a friend. But I went to church there, and I even learned meditation, which was something that was very useful to me and I like to this day. And this was 2004. I finished many rehabs were cookie cutter there, 30 days, which is barely enough time to physically get the body back in shape, much less even to start addressing your problem. But it was what it was. I took advantage of it. And after I finished up with, I decided to go home and use the rest of the 8 weeks of my Family Medical Leave Act in Missouri. My parents were in Springfield, Missouri. And I did 8 weeks of outpatient at Cox North. And I completed that. And I was ready to go back to New York. And before I did that, I drove to Kansas City to see some friends. Devin, Josh, and Jim, and you know, we just had some fun together. That they knew I just went out of rehab and this and that. And I was driving home back to. I had a great weekend, and I was driving back to Springfield. And then I was going to fly out to New York soon. And I was driving through what you would say is like not the nicest part of town, and I started getting cravings and thoughts and this urge to use, and it was so overwhelming, and I was scared to death. And I called my dad up, and I'm like, Dad, this just happened, and I'm not going to go back to New York. And I loved New York, and that was so hard for me to give that up. So I went back to New York. I resigned from my job. I cleaned up my apartment, and I got the heck out of Dodge, and I moved to Springfield, Missouri. But my problem just continued. You know, I would use the 12 steps. I went to mostly NA meetings at that point. I did some AA. But I still wanted to drink. I wanted to be socially accepted. I wanted to go out to clubs. I wanted to meet girls. You know, I was like, oh, I'm going to meet the right one at a bar or a club. And I ended up getting like 2 DUIs back to back in 05 and 06. Lose my license for 5 years. After the first one, lost my license for a year. The day I got it back, I went out that night. I went to a club or a bar, and I got pulled over the night I got it back, and I lost my license again for 5 years. Um, that shows you the pure insanity of where I was in my life. Um, I've always been like a cat. I'd always land on my feet. I'd always get a good job to cover the one that I lost. I'd get fired. I'd get let go. I'd be forced to resign, whatever, and I'd just get another good job. I'd make close to six figures. Blah blah blah. I was back on my feet. Things were going well, and so I kept on socially drinking, and cocaine wasn't as readily available in Springfield, Missouri, but crack cocaine was, and I started using crack cocaine, and that ended up becoming my really final drug of choice. And it was a much stronger high than cocaine. Cocaine made me feel here, and crack cocaine made me feel here, but it's a much shorter length of time. You feel this high, so you need more and more of it to chase it, to continue to stay at that level. So I'm just looking at my time. I got about 20 minutes, or more than that. Live time. Okay, I'm looking at the live time now. So I'm in Missouri. I realized that at this point that I'm going backwards in life. A child is supposed to grow up and move away from home, and I was moving back home. And that says a lot. It's like I was, regressing in life. I continued to get good jobs and lose them. I went through like two to four great jobs in Missouri and in Springfield. Things get really bad again. I was in love with a woman, and I went out, and I've lost many wonderful, beautiful relationships because of this problem, and I've hurt many, many wonderful people, including my family and many dear friends. I've hurt during the course of this problem, which lasted for many, many years. And so we fast forward to 2007, and I wasn't really feeling the 12 steps. I didn't like being powerless and da da da. And my mother knew I was into holistic homeopathic things, and she found this rehab called Narconon, which means no drugs, based off of the works of L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology. And I was always very curious about it. I was like, sign me up, I'm there. And I go out there. I'm there for 4.5 months, and I love the program. I love the approach. It handled both the, and I support anything. I'll get into what works for me now, but everything basically. But this was a different approach, but many similarities and a few differences for me. Anything that helps people in life, I support. And this helped me tremendously. And I found it very empowering. Basically it worked on these things that I talked about at the beginning, not being comfortable with myself, not being able to confront, and you really strengthen those core skills. You work on your personal values, your integrity, how to be happy, to so many different things. You worked on, you confronted, you literally went through your entire life, just like you do in the 12 steps, and you confronted these things that you're pushing away for so many years. These problems, these things that happened to me, things that I did, things that I failed to do. It also addressed the theory is that there was both a mental and a physical aspect, and Narconon handled both of those. The 12 steps, it handles like this mental aspect. So I found something that they put you through the sauna purification process, where I was literally in the sauna every day for about 30 days, for 3 to 4 hours a day, and you're going in and out, 15 minutes, every 15, 20 minutes you come out, you take a break, you're constantly drinking water, taking salt and potassium and all these different vitamins and minerals and supplements. And the theory is that drugs, pesticides, toxins, chemicals, radiation from the sun, anything you could shake a leg at that your body's exposed to during the course of your life, can affect you for years afterwards, residing in the fatty tissues, the metabolites of the body. Why do we get cravings? Why do we get urges? Why do we get thoughts? Why do we get impulses? Why do we get drug-driven after years? So I go through this process, and it was astonishing. My IQ went up like 25 points. I felt like I was 32 at the time. I felt like I was 18 again. My memory recall was like that. I didn't have any depression anymore. I slept better. I felt better. I had liquid glow on my face. So the program worked really well for me. I decided to stay there, and they actually trained me to be a counselor, and I worked helping people get off of drugs and alcohol. And that was the first time in my life I was really doing something where in the past where I was like money motivated, this is the first time like I was help motivated in life. I was like helping other people. It was helping me too, and I really enjoyed it. And I worked for them for 2 to 3 years, almost 4 maybe. And I worked as a drug-free withdrawal administrator, so I helped get people off of drugs. And I also worked as an intake counselor, so I helped people get into treatment. And I liked it. I worked very long hours. I worked 6 days a week most times, and I got burnt out after a few years. But I love the program, and I still support it, and I still use it to this day. So after I left, I moved back to New York, and through this repeated cycle of doing what I learned at Narconon and not doing it, I started to feel stuck.
Hey, I don't know what that is, like this sound. Are you able to put your headphones in? I think we got disconnected for a second, but just trying to fix the sound there, and hopefully Michael will come back on in a moment. If we can't get it fixed, then we'll have to stop the video and then bring him back on. But hopefully he'll jump back on in a moment until we get the sound right. But I just want to share this much because Michael's story is like really good. And I'm sitting here listening to him. I'm like, oh my goodness, I did not know, like after high school, I did not know any of what he had shared. And so I'm hoping we can get that sound worked out well and that he'll be able to jump back on in a moment. I saw him log out, but he'll log back on in a second. And I am not Michael Smith. I'm Latoya, but hopefully we'll get that part worked out. And for anybody that is just joining us now or seeing the video, just being able to understand the title of what we're talking about tonight is a story of addiction and redemption. And what Michael is taking us through is that he talked about the season that he has in high school where he was quiet, didn't talk too much. And even he talked about like senior year, like the yearbooks, right? Where you get voted most whatever. He was voted the quietest person. And then he began to take us through his college years from DUIs and wrecking his parents' car to drinking or getting in different trouble. All the way from graduating from Auburn University, War Eagle, and then going on to work in Manhattan, and talking about having a coworker who always came to work. Michael says, like, looking a bit disheveled or calling out. He knew something was up, but he didn't know the fullness of what was going on with that coworker. But the part of his story where it's that shift, right? Like that movie scene that changes things, or this is the breaking in the story is Michael talks about he began to hang out with that person even more. I think he referred to him as like that big brother he never had. And then as he decides to hang out more, it's that person who introduced him to cocaine. And he's back on now. I'm gonna let him share, but that's where Michael was talking about. And Michael, if you can share it to your page now too, that would be good on Facebook. And I'm just going to summarize your story a little bit more. But he talks about it's in that moment that he began to introduce him to cocaine. And it was interesting how Michael said it. He said he liked it, and he said he was cool here, but cocaine took him here. And the part that I heard in the story, because sometimes we go, okay, well, once isn't going to hurt. But what Michael had shared was it was that once where the friend bought it, then the friend bought it some more. The friend bought it a couple more times. And the next thing he knows, he's chipping in on it to the point where now he's buying it. And he said in New York City, you can get anything. And the drug dealers were coming to his house now. All off that one time, all off that one experiment of let me try cocaine and see what it is. And so he walks us through that season of his life. And he even took us down to shifting from cocaine to crack cocaine. And the way Michael said it was if this is his base and cocaine took him here, he said crack cocaine took him here. But he said the way that he dropped down was too much. And so I'm going to let him come back up and he's going to just talk some more, talks about family and friends that he lost. And I think now what he was sharing was when he was in a rehab facility. We had to take a little break because the sound was messing up, but there you go. You back on there?
Yeah. Well, that was embarrassing.
No, it's okay. I think I like to think that my summary was pretty good. I think I summarized it. I like to think that was amazing.
Yes. Basically, my phone died.
Is that what that was?
I'm in the process of. Yeah, okay. I'm in the process of resurrecting it right now.
Oh,
so okay. I called an audible and I'm on my tablet now.
Okay, so I'm gonna move out the way. And
so we should be good.
I think where you were at, you were talking about a rehab.
The question is, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Let us continue.
Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah. Is there feedback on my end or anything?
You're fine. You can share.
Okay. Okay, great. So we'll fast forward a little bit, and I kind of go back through this pattern of doing well and not doing well in life. And I continue to get great jobs, and we'll just kind of fast forward. You know, I go back to New York, and I end up, one of my problems was I started, I take responsibility for it, but over the course of my life, I've realized many things, and one of them is that I've broken every 10 commandment, and every 7 deadly sin. That's me. That has been me. I've always, people say hopeless romantic. I like to say I'm a hopeful romantic, and I'd get into relationships at this one point in my life where I started getting relationships with married women. And I take full responsibility for that. And it caused me to roller coaster, and it's not something good for someone in recovery. It's not something good, period. Especially someone that's trying to stay clean and sober, because the drama of the relationship with that, and you're going up and down, and that happened to me for many years. And well, fast forward to 2012, I moved back to New Jersey. I'm in this relationship with a married woman, and so I like a cat, I get this job, and this company's paying me 6 figures, and I would have made a ton more off of that, off of commission. I'm the business development manager for the United States for this German-based transportation company called TI Contract. I get to go to Germany for 2 weeks to train. I'm trying to make this relationship work, and I love the person very much, and I still do. And it's different now, but they're doing good. That's what's important to me. This one day I'm pulling everything together. I'm clean for like 8 months or something, and I'm not really doing anything to continue to work on myself at this point. I'm still socially drinking. So up until this point, I still haven't given up alcohol. And this one day, I'm driving home from work, and I pull up to a CVS in Merchantville. I'm living in Merchantville, and right outside of Cherry Hill, the oldest Victorian town in New Jersey, FYI. And there's a younger, attractive black woman outside the front, and I wasn't interested in her or anything like that. She asked me for help. She asked me if I can give her a ride, and I was like, sure, I'd love to give you a quick ride. I went in there and bought some cigarettes and came out, and I'm driving her up the road, and next thing you know, she's like, well, actually, I'm going to buy pot. And I was like, okay, whatever. Next thing you know, she's like, well, I'm actually going to buy crack cocaine. And the next thing you know, I'm going to buy crack cocaine with her. And everything just escalates, and I lose everything. I just start smoking crack and I don't stop. I literally, I never showed up to work again. They just fired me because I never showed up again. I didn't really leave my place. I was just going back and forth to get crack and smoking crack. I ended up not being able to afford the house I was renting. Beautiful house. I just shut myself off for my good friends, and I had really good friends that really cared about me. Tom Braddock being one of them that reached out to me, and I basically lied to my friends, and that's where I was. And next thing you know, I'm homeless, and the next town over is Camden, New Jersey. At the time, it was coined the murder capital of the world, and I'm homeless. I'm just sleeping outside. I'm doing whatever it takes to survive, and my background is sales, so I start using my sales skills to panhandle. I'd ask people for money. I didn't ask for change. I'd ask for a specific amount, and people gave me what I wanted, and I was good at it. And I'd make 150, 250 bucks a day just talking to people, and I'd just smoke crack all day. And I did that for 6 to 8 months in Camden, New Jersey. That could be an entire book right there. And I literally could be dead 20 times over. I lose everything. I finally wake up one day. I call, ask my brother for help. He says I can come down and stay with him in Tampa. I go down there. I'm clean for 8 months. I'm back on Facebook and doing well. And I'm about to get a job. My mom gave me some money, $5,000 to get a car, and I did. I'm going to register the car, and I get this overwhelming urge to go use. I'm in a bad part of town. I go out and I find crack, and I start smoking crack, and I never even registered my darn car. I come back, my brother's like, you can't do this here. And I was like, I understand. I was like, F it, I'm going to be homeless again. So I was homeless again in Tampa. For several months, another 6 months or so. And I did the same thing I did. I'd do it in Ybor City. I'd do it in downtown Tampa. I'd do it in Channelside. And I was good at it. I'd make 150, 250 bucks a day, whatever. And I'd smoke crack all day, each and every day, pretty much. Every once in a while, I'll take a break. I'd sleep outside. I'd sleep in parking garages. I'd create cardboard fortresses, whatever. One day I'm down in downtown Tampa, and one of the best things happened to me. I was sleeping on the side of, in downtown Tampa, they have a First Watch breakfast place, and I'm sleeping on the side of the building. I get a ticket from the cops for trespassing. I never show up to court. So they put out a warrant, and I ended up going to jail for like 20 or 30 days. During this time, I have a moment of clarity, and I'm like, what the heck am I doing? So I asked my family for help, and they found the Phoenix House, my third treatment center. And it was in Citra, Florida. And I went there for 3 months, and I went there voluntarily. I went to every rehab I went to voluntarily because I wanted to get better. I was never forced into treatment. It was never anything like that. I was there for 3 months. I learned a lot. It was a therapeutic community, a different approach, and I really took well to it. And I prospered and I flourished in the program. And they had like a reentry point where you kind of go back and forth from the rehab and start working. And I did that. And then the next town over is Ocala. It's a medium-sized town. I think it's the 50th largest town in Florida. And in many ways, it's almost like it's weird. It's kind of like the recovery capital of the world in many ways to me. Recovery is very strong here. You literally, in my everyday life, when I go out and about, I'll literally run into, 3 to 4 people that I know from meetings, and it's a good thing. People I can trust, So I finished treatment, and I moved to Ocala, and I was going to go into a halfway house, but this place called Open Arms Village recently opened a few months prior, and it was a transitional living facility for homeless men, and or people in recovery. And I stayed there for a year. It was a gift from God, and I took full advantage of it, and I did really well, and I stayed clean and sober, and accumulated more clean time, and my life improved. I really humbled myself. I I lost everything, and I came out with nothing. I started from scratch. Um, I rode a bike to work. I humbled myself. I had a college degree, and I got a job at Dunkin' Donuts, and I applied to be the manager. They didn't have any positions open, so I was like, "What do you got?" They're like, "Shift leader." I was like, "Okay, I'll take it." Um, and I rode a bike like 2 miles to work and 2 miles back every day. And I started going to the gym again, and I was going to meetings. When I was in treatment, I met this guy Jim, and he got me to start going to 12-step meetings again, and that was a gift from God. He later passed from this problem a few years ago. He was a near dear friend, and we both ended up being at Open Arms. He ended up getting kicked out because he went back out and used, and it was the first time I'd really been close to someone that went back out, and I finally understood what I was putting my friends and family through for the first time. I was like, "Oh my God, this is my best friend." We're a person that we'd share these intimate details of our life, our hopes, our dreams, our aspirations, things like that. Am I frozen? Okay. And so I ended up moving on to a different job at Ansophone. I worked there for a year and a half or so, and I was still at Open Arms. I was saving my money and volunteering there and doing my chores and going to meetings and working the steps with the sponsor, who was a gift from God, John. And my life continued to improve. I moved out of Open Arms. I waited a year and a half to date this time. That's a long, and I've never been like a person that's ever needed to be in a relationship. But during this time, for the first time in my life, I really learned how to foster good friendships with women. And later in my life, my best friend was actually a woman. And that's like a template I plan on using in the future. Is like there's a step for everything in life. There's friends and best friends, and then maybe at some point you get married or something. And I still have those dreams to find the one and to get married and have kids, or be a good stepdad or adopt. I've never had kids, but I've got a few nieces and nephews who I love dearly, and a very supportive, loving family. So I move into the historic district at Garden Apartments, and much better, living situation. I get my car back. I'm transitioned to a job I like better. It's a little bit more up my alley, but it's still not really doing what I really want to do. It really wasn't what I felt like was like a purpose for me. What was wrong with this thing? So I get a call a year and a half into my job at Ansophone from my case manager, Pam, at Open Arms, and she went from case manager to executive director, and she asked me to come back and work as a case manager, and that was a no-brainer. I was like, I'd absolutely love to do that. So at this point, I have like about 2.5 years. And hope you guys can hear me. I know I'm kind of freezing up every once in a while. So I'm there, and I'm doing well, and I'm really loving it, and I'm helping guys get back on their feet. Basically, I'm helping them get a bank account and getting their license back and reconnect with their families and getting better jobs, and learning how to manage their budget and become self-sufficient again. So they stay there for up to a year. It's 9 months now, and then they move on, and they restart their lives, and they prosper and flourish again. It's a wonderful job. And always the toughest thing for me is that in that position was, we'd interview people, and oftentimes my boss would give me the final say so, and who we take, or sometimes we go back and forth on that, but that was always the toughest decision, is who I would take as a resident. But I put my heart and my soul into that job, and I'm very proud of the job I did. I ended up I'm doing very well, and I ended up moving into John Travolta's neighborhood here in Ocala. It's called Jumbo Air. They had like this apartment structure there with 3 apartments in there, and it was a pretty good deal. And I'm in a gated community. I'm like, this is a no-brainer. I'd love to live there. It's out in the country, and it's beautiful. And the airport runway's there, and so I'd always have this knack to get things back in life, but it wasn't really getting back the materialistic things in life that was important to me. What I learned was really about being happy, and being successful in some capacity where I feel like I'm making a difference in this world. And there's some times in my life where I felt like I was doing that, and other times I wasn't. But at Open Arms, I felt like I was doing that. So after 4 years, I go back out. I don't make excuses. I wasn't doing what I needed to do. I'm doing the 12 steps. I'm also using the Narconon program, but I kind of stopped doing both. And I was basically, half-assing my recovery. So depression set in, boredom, isolation. Next thing you know, one night I go out and I purchase some crack, and I recover, and I stop using it. And a few weeks later, it happens again, and I never call out of work. I'm never sick. So I knew my boss knew something was up, and she called me, and I was like, I'm going to tell you everything that happened the next morning. So I met up with her like at Dunkin' Donuts, and I told her that I relapsed, and it was a really hard thing for her to hear. It was really a hard thing for me to say. And I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated. Because I worked so hard for so long to get all these things back in my life, and I had my family back, and I'd go out to Tampa every other weekend and go see my brother and sister-in-law. I just call her sister Christine, and my brother Matthew, and they're my 2 beautiful nieces, Charlie and Isabella, and I'd see my mom, and talk to my sister, and see my sister whenever she'd come down to visit. And I had such a great support network here in Ocala. I had so many resources, and I didn't use any of it. I didn't care, and I shut everybody off. And my roommate moved out, and I isolated, and I just started using drugs. And I tried to pull things together. I was at Open Arms, and I came clean with Pam, and I was clean. I was clean for a week and a half, but I tried to go to a meeting or two, and they had to make a tough decision, and they decided to let me go, and I lost it. I was absolutely devastated. I loved that job, and I loved the people I worked with. I still, worked with, and I still do very much. And I love the church there, St. Mark's United Methodist Church. It was a blessing from God that they, created that with my tablet. And I lost everything. Eventually, I couldn't pay my rent. I moved out. Stayed with my brother in Tampa for a little bit, and get together some clean time. And my birthday comes around. My mother sends me $100, and I go out and I spend it on crack. And I borrow my sister and brother, my sister-in-law, and my brother's van, and I run it out for crack. There's like a tablet in there that belonged to my niece, and I sold that for crack. A DVD player she would use, and I sold that for crack. And those are very tough things that I had to deal with. The after effect. Um, like I said, I don't make excuses for my problem. I don't believe in the disease model. I believe at the end of the day, I always have a choice. And I chose to pick up, and I chose to steal and sell possessions of my family's. I I can't stay there. I asked for help. I ended up going to my fourth program, DACO, in Tampa. Very similar in many ways to the Phoenix House, but not as nice. A therapeutic community, but I mean, the best thing about it really was some of the friends I made there, and my counselor, Theo Lipsy. And I would be there for 3 months. I stayed for 2 and I left. The best piece of advice he gave me was this, and I carry it forward to this day, is like, he's like, so, cocaine or crack made you feel like up here. He's like, what are you doing to match that in your life if you're always chasing that spot? And I was like, wow, you know what? So I finally applied that advice he gave to me. So I fill my life with all these wonderful things these days. I go to church. I do meditation. I do hot yoga. I go to the gym. I volunteer. I try to help people each and every day if I can, and I help myself. I work the steps. I use the Narconon program. I do whatever it takes to stay clean and sober. But I left. I left DACO. I go to we're starting to get to the end point, T, if you're listening. I'm homeless again, this time for 1.5 years. And I do the same things. I'm panhandling. I make 150, 250 bucks a day. And I'm smoking crack each and every day. I finally come to my senses, and my family, my brother and sister, like, God bless them, they've always been there for me, and my mother and my sister. And but I call them up. I'm like sleeping outside of I'm sleeping like in a Burger King parking lot, or a parking lot close to like a Burger King. And I lost a lot of weight, but I started gaining weight because I'm eating Burger King every day. Let's go back to Open Arms. The day I get let go, my boss Pam calls me into Pastor Sue Corley's office. She's the pastor there of St. Mark's Methodist Church. And I was very upset. I was, angry. I was, this and that. But I was the one that created this problem. And Pastor Sue says this to me. She's like, would you like me to pray for you? And at the time, I honestly just wanted to give them both the middle finger and walk out. But I let her pray for me. And I stayed there and I listened to it. And I walked out. And I still think about that to this day. I let her pray for me. And I almost didn't. So my fifth and final treatment, I get into Operation PAR in Largo. It's a 4 to 6 month program. I agree with them. I would do 4 months. It's weird. I get there. I love the program. It's based on Sams's 8 Dimensions of Wellness. I really loved the approach, and it was very therapeutic. And they'd have all these cool elective classes. It's almost like you're in college campus and walking around different classes, and you can work out, and they have really good food. And I mean, those are therapeutic things in life, and you can listen to music, and you can use a tablet and your phone, and hopefully you're responsible with that. And I think for the most part I was. And many people aren't. And I was I started chairing meetings there. I reorganized the 12-step meeting schedule. I tried to help people wherever I could. I the third day I was there, something changed for me. It was a Saturday night. I read the orientation guide before I got there. You know, what clothes I can bring, this and that. But there's a lot into it. It entails like basically what the program means and does. And I reread that night, and something changed for me. It was like this psychic change, and my perception level just rose to a new level where I've been before. And I was on this thing that we refer to, because when I first got there, I was still a little bit depressed and stuff, but in the recovery community, we call it the pink cloud. It's this natural high, this euphoric feeling. And I'm almost 7 months clean and sober right now, and I'm still on it. I've never fallen off of it. And that's what often happens is you're on this cloud for a while and you feel great, and then you fall off of it. And I'm prepared if I do. But my intention is to stay on this thing and ride it out for the rest of my life. If I continue to do the things that work for me, why not? I believe all things are possible through God, so I feel like I can feel like this natural way the rest of my life, a natural high through God. So I have the spiritual of all spiritual awakenings in treatment, and I start praying. I start asking other people to pray for me. I've never done that in my life. I started church service there because of COVID. You know, we couldn't have 12-step meetings come in or out, so we had to Zoom them, or we did our own on-site meetings. Church couldn't come in or out, so we started our own church service. I'd streamed, church service there. I ended up doing Grace Family Church, who a friend of mine from Auburn, Pat Sellers, is involved with their church. She works for them and this and that, and it was a good, non-denominational Christian church, and we did that. And I'm reading the Bible and this and that. And actually, let's go back a bit. I've read the Bible here and there throughout my life, but this last time when I was homeless, I'm out one night, and I'm at a pizza place, and this guy just comes up to me, and I've got a full-on beard. I must smell horrendous. And he asked me if I like some pizza, and I was like, sure, and soda. And he actually asked me to sit down and eat with him. And we sat down, and I was a little, beside myself. I was like, oh my God, this guy just gave me the time of day to be a regular human being with me and enjoy my company. And I knew what I looked like. I knew what I was doing. And we had a conversation for an hour, and we broke bread together, and we talked about God and life. And he gives me the leather jacket off his back. He gives me $20 for later, which I'd use on drugs. But he goes into his car, and he pulls out this leather-bound Bible. And I never actually read. I read a lot of the Old Testament. I never actually read the New Testament. So I got through all the. I'm shot. I've worked so hard today. I'm trying to. I read all the Gospels about Jesus basically for the first time in my life, and I was blown away. What he said was so profound and simple and basic and good. And I'm like, if people, there's many things we can use in life. I'm a person that uses many different religions and philosophies to make my life better. But I was like, after reading these things that Jesus said, I was like, if the rest of the world did this, this would be a much better place. It's very simple, right? And I took that with me. But I just have like this crazy spiritual awakening and treatment, and it's like I developed this second sight. And how's it going, Latoya? Can you wrap things up?
Hey, yeah, in a few minutes, but
so
man, go ahead.
Okay, I can make it. I can wrap it nice and neat. So I start going through the 12 steps again, and I convinced my old sponsor to take me back temporarily. So when I'm going through these steps, you mentioned the word God often, and I get up every morning, and I get down on my knees, and I pray every morning for the first time in my life, and I ask for God's will for me. And boy did he show it to me. I'm going through this part of the program where you do character defects. The next thing you know, that day, all the people around me are pointing out my character defects, including my counselor and my whole group counseling session. We do one just with ourselves, with the group. We run it ourselves, and like everyone confronts me on my character defects. So these startling things happen to me, and I can literally tell you a million stories from then to now of just having God in my life. And I never actually, for the first time in my life, I put God first, and I never put God first. I always put everything: my career, myself, drugs, relationships, women, sex, whatever you can shake a leg at. I always put everything above God in my life until now. And now God comes first, and then me and my recovery comes second. And with that, I truly believe I have nothing. And when someone has this connection with God, it is what it is. And it wasn't me searching for God. It was, I believe it was God finding me when God was ready for me. And I literally feel like I put myself through, 20 years of hell or trials and tribulations. And I believe that was God's will for me to go through these things. So later in life, I can share my story with other people to help them. And I believe that's my purpose in life is to help other people and to share my story and, to be the best person I can be. And that's where I'm at in life. I love my life. I don't have a lot of material things. I don't need them. And I'm trying to shed my materialism. It's not an easy process. I try to be humble. I get up every morning and I pray to God. I got out of treatment by the grace of God. I finished a 4 to 6 month program in 2 months.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
I still don't know how that happened, but I asked God to, I think God moved me on. And I'm here in Ocala now, and I'm on the 9th step. I've got about 7 months clean and sober, and basically I'm on the 9th step, which is making amends and making up damage. And where did I create the most damage was here in Ocala when I left my job as a case manager. And I believe God sent me back here to fix this and to move on to his purpose for me, my ultimate purpose. But I'm going to re-go through that sauna purification process I once did. I go to meetings, I go to AA, I go to NA, I do Smart Recovery, I do Narcanon. Mm-hmm. If it takes me if staying clean and sober means running 5 miles a day, I'll do that too, whatever it takes. Mm-hmm. But the biggest thing is I put God first in my life, and then me and my recovery second, and everything falls in line. And I get down on my knees every morning and I pray for God's will for me. Amen. And he shows it to me, and I could literally tell you a billion different stories, and you'll hear about my book, and I'd come back and tell them to you. But I'm working my way back up in life, and I'm almost fully self-sufficient here. 7 months late, 7 months in my recovery, and life's beautiful. Every day is a gift from God for me. I've never been happier. I've never been more excited for my life. People sometimes think I'm high because I'm so naturally energetic and happy. They think I'm high sometimes, and it's crazy because I'm not. I'm just, this is how I am, and how I am is a gift from God. And some people might say that as ADHD or this or that or da da da. He's got bipolar. No, this is the way God made me, and I'm okay with that. I don't care what other people think. I just care what God thinks, and I'll let God judge me at the end of the day. And I love my life, and this life is truly a gift, and I'm going to make it the best life I can. And God willing, next year I might travel the world. I've always wanted to travel the world, and I might do missionary work, and we'll see. I'm going to write my book and about my life, and I'll probably write many books. I love to make people laugh and smile and happy, and I love to write, and I love to share my story. If it can help someone, if one person, if this helps one person today, that makes it worth it to me.
Can you hear? Are you able to hear me?
And I am planning our.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I want to share this too, because your story, and there's some comments coming in, so yes. I want to make sure that you see them. I want to share them with you before we jump off. But Michael, I'm telling you, You did something with your sound. I don't know what happened, but it just, I hope we don't go back to that sound it wasn't before. But I'll tell you what, if you were in front of me and I can give you a big hug, I would give you the biggest hug right now. I know I probably haven't seen you since like the 90s, but I would run up to you and I would give you the biggest hug because I love every part of your story, and especially the part where you realize now what you're saying, that you've learned to put God first and then everything else comes after. And you talk about these 20 years, because it's been about 20 some years since I've seen you. You know what I mean? Like you've gone through, and that's the part of like storytelling. We've all been through something. We all go through the toughest times, but I'm so grateful to God that, you know, this relationship you have with him, and he was with you the whole entire time. What I heard you say a minute
Yes.
ago was like, you noticed he was right
Yes.
there
Yes.
most recently, but it's still not too late. And I think even Casey had asked, because we got some questions here, and I want to make sure that you hear this for those that are on here now, who are also blown away by your story. And I know these people on here now are going to be praying for you and calling your name out as well, Michael. But she asked, did you read Revelations? Casey asked that question. I just want to make sure that you, is that one of the books you got to? You may not have gotten to it yet.
Thank you very much. I love you very much, my friend. One thing I think God is wanting me to do is love unconditionally. It's not easy. It's something I'm striving for.
I think he cut again. He's going to come back. And when he comes back on, I'm going to see if he can answer some of these questions. I think we have the connection is a bit bumpy, but like last time he went out and he came back in. He'll join back in a second. Actually, he's coming back in now. But I want to make sure that if oh, here he is. Here you go. You good? You back?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. You see this question from Casey? Like, what are your future goals and where do you see yourself in the next year?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Are you able to see
what
the
are my
question?
future goals and where do you want to see yourself next year? Yes, I can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah. Thank you for the question, Casey. My future goals are to write a few books. The first one will be about me with, you know, this struggle with addiction, with, and also finding God. I'm still working on a title. It's changed a few times, but it'll probably change many more. But it'll probably be something like, oh gosh, I'm so shot right now. I can't even think of the title of my book. Staying Alive, Surviving My Battle Between Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Staying Alive, going from 6 figures to homeless and back again.
All right, he'll be back. if you've been with us the whole time, you know this is the 3rd time, maybe the 4th time he jumped off, but he's coming back. So if you do have any questions, we want to make sure that we ask them or get to them pretty quickly. But for those that have joined us a little bit later, what I shared in the very beginning is Michael and I, and a few of us that are on here now, we all went to high school together. So Michael and I were in the same homeroom, C200. We're in Cocos Valley Regional High School. I'd like to think I sat behind him, and maybe I sat behind somebody else. Who knows? It was 1990 to 94. I don't remember. But we were in the same homeroom and just talking about how I haven't seen him, but you know, even though you come up in a certain way, everybody's life kind of takes its own course. And Michael led us through from high school to college to being in Manhattan and first trying drugs to what led him to Florida now and the rehab facilities that he's been in and finding God, which I think we all are excited about and praising God for where he's at right now. Michael, there's some more questions. This one's from
Okay,
Mandy. Can you see that?
Did I just just to finish the first question, I'm
Okay.
going to write my
We'll go
book. Next year, I'd like to really travel the world and do missionary work, wherever's needed and wanted, whatever country. I already have people in different countries reaching out to me: Pakistan,
Mhm.
India,
Oh,
different
wow.
countries in Africa, Asia. So I've always wanted to travel the world, and I believe God is going to give me this opportunity.
I believe so too. This one's from Stephanie and just says, "Thank you for sharing your story with all of us." Um, that was a nice comment. She wanted you to
Very
hear
welcome.
that. And um,
Good.
Casey says she loves your story.
You know, thank you, Casey. God bless you. And Stephanie Allen's been very supportive of me ever since we reconnected on Facebook. She's always been there. Mandy
Mhm.
Malarzik, glad you can love yourself now. Yeah, that's one thing. She brings up a good point. For the longest time, I realized I did not love myself. I hated myself in many ways.
Mhm.
And something important for me to this day is really loving myself. You know, I love God, and I'm loving myself unconditionally. It's not an easy process either, you know, and I'm trying to love others unconditionally. Um, I'm removing all negative thoughts, emotions, words. I try not to curse anymore. I try, if a negative thought enters, I try to reverse it.
Yeah.
You know, even a phrase, you know, killing two birds with one stone. I say feeding two birds with one seed. Um, so I try to use positive intentions and thoughts, and it's really been helping me dramatically.
Mhm. Um, Casey had mentioned too that God will mend everything that was destroyed during that season, those low points of those 20 years. Um,
Yeah.
He'll mend all those things, you know?
That's a good point. I have everything I need. All I need is God, and at the end of the day, that's all I really need. That's all I learned, is that all I need is God, and um, e- everything else is wonderful details, great details. But what I find, and it's funny because we talked about it a little bit, but I'm at this level. I'm a very I communicate a lot. I'm very positive. I like to make jokes, da, da, da. But I'm up here naturally, and some people think I'm high sometimes, and it's just how I am naturally. That's the way God made me, and I never needed drugs. And you know, I worked all day outside today, in 90-something degree heat, and I still have the energy to do this interview. I was earlier today. I was like, oh my God, how am I gonna do this interview tonight? And I'm so glad I did it. You know, that's one thing that's very important to me in my recovery, is honoring my commitments in life. Once I make a commitment, you know, how many commitments did we break in life, period? Much less when I was on drugs and alcohol. You
Mhm.
know, I mean, everything went out the window. All the 10 commandments and the 7 deadly sins, and you know, I'm lying, I'm cheating, I'm stealing, da 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 da. You know, and integrity is important to me. It's wholeness. I'm whole again.
Mhm.
God's helped make me whole again.
Yeah.
But a lot of, you know, it's God, and then it's my own time, effort, and energy into this thing. And I used to really, what I'd say is kind of half-ass my recovery. I put 10 or 20% in, and it paid really good dividends. I did really well, but I'd fall off sometimes, and maybe sometimes I put in more. But now I do whatever it takes. I put 100% in, because when I
Yeah.
wanted to get high, I put 100% into getting high, and trust me, I got high. So I put everything I can into my recovery, but it's God first, and it's really bizarre, but it's hard to describe it. But God asks me to do things, and I jump. When God tells me to jump, I jump, and I just, if I think, I use my intuition. I think if this is will for me, I do it. And when I first got here, I literally had nothing.
Mhm.
And this homeless person in a wheelchair asked me to go get him some food, and I was actually set to go to church. And then this other girl asked me for food, so I skipped church, and I'm helping these homeless people basically. And on the way, I'm asking all these Christians for a ride to church, or this or that, and literally 10 Christians tell me, "Oh, we're late for church." I'm like, wrong. In my mind, I'm like, church is right here. Because one of the problems I see is that it doesn't matter what religion you are, but let's just take Christianity for example, is like, for me in anything in life is that I've got to understand. So if you read the Bible, for me, I've got to understand it. If I understand it, I could duplicate it and repeat it. And if I could duplicate or repeat it, I could apply it to my life. And if you just go to church and you listen, but you don't understand and you're not applying it, that's not Christianity to me. And Christianity is applying the things that Christ taught and using it in your everyday life. So if you're on your way to church and someone asks you for help, what would Jesus do? He would help the person. He would go to church late, you know? I mean, so for me, it's being the best person I can be. And when God asks me to help someone, I go above and beyond. And I drop everything, literally. I drop everything. And all I can say is I feel great about myself these days, you know?
Yeah. And I'm proud of you. And I think, you know, like I was saying, you got a bunch of people on here right now that are praying for you right now, that are rooting for you, and will be praying for you. Because I think your story is absolutely.
That. I appreciate that. And I'm going to put this out there, Latoya.
Okay. Are you going to call me T again?
Starting to T. Or I'm going to put this out there.
Okay.
I am starting getting together this committee to do a reunion in 3 years. It'll be our 30th. And my question to you, you know, I was answering questions here. Is see you in 3 years? Question mark.
You said that, and I had no idea that 3 years was our 30th. It makes me feel extremely old. I didn't know that until you mentioned it a month ago or two. But I guess I'll be there, because if I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna get this hug in that I want to give you right now. I think everybody, if we can get like a group hug, a Facebook virtual group, we would do that. But yeah,
I think our whole high school class could use a group hug. I think our whole high school class can use a group hug, and it's going to be the best reunion ever. I'm a planner. I'm an organizer. I like you know, one of God's purposes for me is to bring people together. And that's something I love to do. I love to organize things. I planned our last 2 high school reunions, and I had so much fun doing it. It was like,
Carla says,
you know, for me, it wasn't work. It was just fun. I have fun doing things like that in my free time, which I have, you know, very little of. I'm a very busy guy these days, but I'll always make time for friends. I'll create time for people that are important to me in my life, above and beyond, you know. And for me, that's my high school graduating class.
And you got
my high school graduating class is very near and dear to me, and I love them very much. And I'm going to give them the best gosh darn reunion they could ever hope for.
Okay, it's going to be dope. Listen, Carla's coming. She says she hasn't been to not one, but she'll come to the 30th. And Stephanie says she's going to be there too. And Mandy says she's
Stephanie's on the planning committee. Of course she's going to be there. Stephanie's on the planning committee.
You need to get Carla on the planning committee too. Yeah, Carla.
Thank you, Mandy. I'll take. I like coconut water, Mandy.
Listen, we have one more question.
It's got natural electrolytes in it, or water with lemon. KCL. I've been there and asked for help from Christians, but again, they are Christians and not believers. Yeah, there's a difference. She brings up a good point. There's people that say they're this or that, but are you a believer?
Mm-hmm.
And I can finally say in my life, I am a believer. And there is a difference. There is a difference.
Amen.
And I'm not hating on anybody. I'm just saying that for me personally, to be something, to be part of a religion or a philosophy or something that betters my life, I need to understand it, be able to repeat it, and apply it to my life for the betterment of myself and mankind, all kind, womankind. You know, and I'm still learning. This old dog is still learning new tricks, and I want to live the rest of my life doing that. I'm open-minded and willing to consider any possibility, and at the end of the day, I'd like to make this place a better world. You know, and I think that's God's will for me is to help people and go from there.
No, I think
You can
you're
share a
doing
few
that.
smiles and laughs along the way.
I think you're doing that. And so, Michael, I thank you so much. I can't wait for these books to come out because, like you said, that story and that season of being in Camden was enough for a book, and I imagine it was. And I think each season where you were at is enough for it. But I'm just grateful for this space. I'm so happy that you were able to share your story with us. I'm so happy that you found God, you found relationship, and you found His love. And I'm so happy that you're sharing it with other people. And I'm really, really, really proud of you. And Carla wants
Thank
to
you
be
very
part
much.
of the reunion committee. Make sure you reach out to Michelle.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity.
Mm,
I'm glad we reconnected face to face.
mhm.
And this format, my name in one way means gift from God, and this format, this strong witness, has been a gift from God to me tonight. Being able to have
Yeah.
this opportunity to share my story and to maybe help someone out there.
Amen. Well, I thank you. And
Amen.
hopefully, if you just make sure you share the story on your page too, because I want your people to be able to hear it.
Oh, you know I will.
Thank you so much. Just know that we're praying for you. We love you. And don't forget that Carla Michelle Pagan wants to be on the reunion committee. Please reach out to her as soon as possible.
Oh, I will. Oh, I'd love to.
And she's
I'd
on here
love
right
to.
now.
I like
And
that.
she wants to plan every detail.
Thank you. Thank God, and God bless.
All right, Michael, stay on here. I'm gonna log off, and Sister Rashtar says thank you for telling your story. Amen. And God bless you as well. But we're praying for you. And
You're welcome.
and Michael, stay on here.
I'm gonna go
And
eat
we're
some sushi after. Some something.
Sushi sounds good. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We're going to be back next week. Strong Witness, always storytelling. We have another great story next week. But we'll be back on. Michael, hold on one more for me.